Chosen one, heaven stood still tonight. The courts of eternity paused, the music of angels dimmed, and the light of the throne leaned closer. Everything in heaven turned its attention toward a single soul, you. What you did, when no one was watching, became a divine spectacle in the unseen realm. You didn't make an announcement, you didn't seek applause, you simply obeyed. And heaven noticed. There are moments in your journey that seem small to earth but thunder in eternity. That choice you made to stay kind when cruelty surrounded you. That silent prayer whispered through tears. That time you forgave the one who never apologized. Those moments are the language of heaven, and you have been speaking it fluently without realizing it. You thought it went unseen, but the eyes of the Almighty never blink. Every act of obedience, every tear of surrender, every breath of endurance, heaven recorded them all. The angels took note, for your resilience testified of something holy. You stood where others would have run. You believed when the evidence was gone. You praised when pain was pressing. Beloved, what you did shook the heavens not because of its size, but because of its purity. God saw your sacrifice. He saw the moment you chose peace over retaliation. He saw when you stayed in the secret place instead of seeking revenge. And when you did that, heaven gasped, because love in pain is rare. Faith under pressure is rare. But you did it, you kept believing. Heaven was shocked not in disbelief, but in awe. For you have done what few dare. You trusted when the world called you foolish. You believed when logic mocked you. You stayed when everything said to leave. And in that moment, the throne smiled. You didn't just pass a test, you established a testimony. Listen to this truth: nothing about your struggle has been wasted. Every disappointment was divine direction. Every heartbreak carved deeper capacity for glory. You thought it was the end, but heaven knew it was the beginning of a divine unveiling. There's a fragrance released from endurance. It's invisible, but heaven smells it. You have carried that aroma before the throne tonight, and the sound of your perseverance has become worship. The angels whispered your name in reverence because you chose the narrow way. Do you know what happens when heaven stops for you? Divine alignment begins. Doors that were once bolted begin to shift. What resisted you now recognizes you. Because you didn't yield to despair, heaven now yields to your faith. Chosen one, the spiritual world has shifted. What was once dormant is awakening. What seemed like silence was divine strategy. Heaven delayed not because you were forgotten, but because your character was being forged. The pain wasn't punishment, it was preparation. And now, God sends a word to confirm what your heart already senses. You are stepping into a season of unveiling. The shadows that hid your greatness are lifting. The storms that threatened to drown you are now guiding you to purpose. Do not despise the nights when heaven feels far. Those are the nights when your name is being spoken the loudest in the celestial halls. For tonight the Father has declared, it is time. And as heaven once spoke through the Apostle Paul in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 17, for our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that outweighs them all. Let that truth settle deep in your spirit. What you are carrying now will not compare to what is coming next. The glory being prepared for you will make every tear worth it. You have not been walking alone. Even in your silence, every step you took through darkness was guided by unseen hands. Every night you thought would end in despair was actually an altar of transformation. Heaven has been shaping you, molding you, preparing you to carry weight that will one day bless generations. Now heaven whispers again, be still, but stay expectant. You are standing in the tension between what was and what shall be. The shaking you feel is not destruction, it's construction. Heaven is rebuilding the foundation beneath your feet so that what comes next will never crumble again. If this word touches your soul, pause for a sacred moment. Like, share, and subscribe so this message can reach another chosen one who feels unseen. Then comment the prophetic number 777 below as your public declaration. Heaven noticed me. Heaven stood still tonight because of your quiet yes. The earth will soon echo the sound of heaven's applause. When no one saw but God did. Chosen one. This is the truth that will haunt and heal you at the same time. The world may not know the sacrifices you made, the prayers you whispered in the dark, the times you broke in silence, but heaven saw every fragment. Heaven recorded every heartbeat that chose righteousness over revenge, every tear that fell between the lines of obedience and exhaustion. You have lived through chapters where applause was absent and affirmation was rare. You smiled through rejection, carried peace through chaos, and chose light when shadows tried to claim you. People overlooked it. Some mocked it. Others misunderstood it, but God never missed a moment. Every quiet decision in the secret place became a divine testimony in His presence. There were nights when your soul trembled, when it felt like faith was fading, but you kept holding on. The angels stood near, watching with reverence, for they knew the magnitude of what you were doing. It wasn't just survival, it was sacrifice. Your persistence became a sermon, and your silence became worship. Heaven's attention does not rest on noise, it rests on truth. You didn't shout your faith, you lived it. You didn't prove your loyalty, you demonstrated it in the shadows. And when no one else recognized it, the eyes of the Lord did. The Bible says that His eyes run to and fro across the earth, seeking those whose hearts are fully His. Tonight, that gaze rested upon you. Beloved, every unseen act of faith has weight in the Spirit. When you chose to forgive instead of curse, a chain broke in the unseen. When you gave out of lack, heaven marked the offering. When you prayed for those who hurt you, mercy rippled through generations yet unborn. You don't see the full impact, but heaven does. God does not measure greatness by crowds, but by consistency. The small, faithful yes that no one claps for is the one that moves mountains in eternity. And you have been saying yes again and again, even through pain. You didn't realize that your endurance was building an altar of remembrance before God. Some of the greatest miracles begin with hidden obedience. The prophets of old understood this, how Abraham climbed in silence, how David wept in caves, how Elijah prayed when no rain came. None of them had witnesses, none had comfort. But heaven was watching, writing, remembering. And the same heaven that honored them has recorded your nights of unseen faith. The world celebrates the visible, but the kingdom crowns the invisible. Your humility has become your armor. Your patience has become your weapon. Every time you remained faithful, heaven prepared a reward. You may feel forgotten, but you are being forged. Even the ground beneath your pain is holy. For it was there that God saw your surrender. You didn't just survive heartbreak, you turned it into worship. You didn't just endure loss, you offered it as incense before the throne. The fragrance of your perseverance reached heaven long before your breakthrough arrived on earth. And now, in the quiet of your spirit, heaven whispers, I saw it. I saw the night you stayed awake crying but still whispered my name. I saw when you could have walked away but chose to kneel instead. I saw when no one understood you but you kept loving anyway. It is written in the book of Matthew chapter 6 verse 6. When you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father. He who sees in secret will reward you. Those words were not a suggestion, they were a revelation. God does not overlook secret faith. He magnifies it. The hidden place is his favorite stage, and your life has been his quiet performance of glory. You didn't realize it, but your unseen prayers have become pillars in heaven's architecture. Every battle fought in silence is building something in eternity. Every unseen victory will one day be revealed before witnesses. The same Father who watched you struggle in private will honor you in public, not because of performance, but because of purity. Chosen one, don't rush the unveiling. Let heaven finish writing your hidden chapters. When God reveals what he's been building in you, it will carry the fragrance of authenticity, the kind that cannot be faked, the kind that darkness fears. There will come a day when what was done in secret will speak louder than any platform, and heaven itself will testify on your behalf. Until then, hold fast to your quiet faith. Heaven saw what you did, and that is enough. The breaking point that became a birth point. Chosen one, there was a night when you almost gave up. The pressure was unbearable. The silence was deafening, and your heart could no longer tell if it was faith or fatigue keeping you alive. That moment when you thought it was over, heaven leaned closer. What you called breaking, heaven called birthing. The weight you felt wasn't punishment, it was purpose trying to emerge. The trembling, the tears, the confusion, all contractions of destiny. You didn't fail. You transitioned. Every cry you released became a sound heaven recognized, a cry of transformation, not defeat. You see, every great calling comes with a breaking. The shell must crack for the light to come through. The vessel must be stretched before it carries the new oil. And though it hurt, your breaking became the sacred signal that heaven was ready to release something new through you. You thought you were being destroyed, but you were being delivered from the version of you that could not carry the next season. That's why people left, why doors closed, why plans fell apart. God was stripping away the unnecessary weight so that what's inside you could finally breathe. The moment you cried, "I can't do this anymore," the heavens whispered, "You're almost there." The battle intensified, not because you were weak, but because you were close. The enemy does not attack what has no potential. The storm only forms where destiny is about to land. Do you remember the night you couldn't even pray? When the only sound that escaped was a broken whisper, even that whisper reached the throne. The Bible says that the Spirit himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words. You didn't need language, heaven understood your tears. And now you stand different, scarred, but stronger. The breaking did not destroy you, it revealed you. You no longer carry dead weight. You carry divine fire. There's a new authority in your voice because it was refined through pain. Chosen one. Hear this, every breaking point is a divine intersection. You met your limits, and God met you there. That moment when you said, "I have nothing left," heaven answered, "Good. Now I can begin." When the clay reaches its limit in the potter's hands, it doesn't mean the potter is done, it means he's molding it into perfection. And you, beloved, were being reshaped. Your life is becoming a vessel heaven can trust. It is written in the book of Psalms, chapter 34, verse 18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. You were never alone in the breaking. Every heartbeat of pain was accompanied by the rhythm of heaven's compassion. You thought no one understood, but the one who formed your heart felt every fracture. He was not distant. He was near, closer than breath, watching as strength was born through surrender. The breaking brought clarity. It revealed what mattered, what was real, who truly stood by you, and who was merely passing through. It taught you to rely not on approval but on presence. And now, because of that breaking, You no longer chase what drains you, you protect what sustains you. You may not realize it yet, but heaven has already begun to build on your ashes. The ground that once held your pain will soon host your promise. The very places you cried will become altars of testimony. For every loss, there will be restoration. For every wound, there will be wisdom. This is why the breaking had to happen. It birthed awareness. It birthed authority. It birthed authenticity. You are no longer fragile. You are fortified. You walk with the quiet confidence of someone who has seen the fire and lived to tell the story. Chosen one. Take a moment now and let gratitude replace grief. What felt like death was only divine surgery. What felt like ending was reintroduction. You are not the same. You have been redefined by grace. And now, in this sacred pause, I invite you to type in the comments, "I rise again." Write it as a declaration, not a reaction. When you type those words, you are agreeing with heaven's verdict that your story is not over. You are prophesying your own resurrection. You are telling every unseen power, I have been broken, but I have also been born again through purpose. Heaven hears your declaration. The angels record your words because faith speaks even when feelings can't. You are stepping into a season where your strength will no longer come from striving but from surrender. Remember this: what broke you prepared you. The shaking was never to destroy, it was to awaken. And now, from the rubble of pain, purpose rises. You are not standing in the ruins anymore. You are standing in the birthplace of destiny. Heaven watched your breaking and called it beautiful. The battle you fought alone. Chosen one. Only heaven knows the nights that carved silence into your spirit. The kind of battle that doesn't leave visible scars but tears through the unseen, the inner war between giving up and going on. You smiled in public, but in the quiet corners of your heart, you were fighting for your life, for your faith, for your sanity. No one saw the weight you carried, the pressure pressing from every side. You weren't just dealing with people, you were wrestling with principalities. The opposition you faced wasn't physical, it was spiritual. The darkness didn't attack your possessions, it attacked your peace. Because the enemy recognized something about you that even you were just beginning to discover. You are marked. The warfare began the moment heaven called your name. You didn't choose the battle recognized your light. Every chosen one carries a radiance that disturbs the shadows. You wondered why rejection came from those you loved, why sudden storms appeared after your prayers, why weariness followed every act of faith. It was never coincidence, it was resistance. Hell does not fight what it does not fear. The very intensity of your opposition was a clue to your importance. You thought you were under attack because of your weakness, but the truth is, you were under attack because of your potential. The battle came to break what heaven had already blessed, but it failed. Every sleepless night, every tear, every moment when strength ran thin, those were not signs of defeat. They were evidence of endurance. You didn't know it, but while you were weeping, angels were warring. Every time you whispered a prayer instead of a complaint, you gave heaven legal permission to fight on your behalf. It is written in the book of Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. That verse is not just doctrine, it is your diary. You have lived it. You've felt the unseen pressure that no one could explain. You've walked through spiritual heaviness that others misread as sadness. You've carried burdens that came not from circumstance but from calling. And yet, through it all, you remained standing. Even bruised, even trembling, even uncertain, you refused to bow to despair. That resistance alone shook the gates of hell. For every time you said, "I still believe," 1,000 arrows fell harmlessly to the ground. There are battles that heaven allows not to punish you, but to prepare you. Every blow you endured strengthened your discernment. Every delay stretched your faith. Every disappointment purified your motives. You were being trained for authority, and authority cannot be given to one who has not survived warfare. You've been learning the sound of your own spirit in combat, the rhythm of prayer that confuses darkness. You've discovered that worship is not a song, it's a strategy. You've seen how silence can be stronger than shouting, how stillness can be deadlier than struggle. This is why heaven trusted you with isolation. It was never rejection, it was refinement. Alone you learned dependence. Alone you found the voice of God beneath the noise. Alone you were rebuilt. What felt like abandonment was actually alignment. Now the enemy knows your name not as a victim, but as a threat. You've graduated from survival to stewardship. You no longer fight from fear, you fight from victory. For every attack that tried to crush you, heaven has assigned double reinforcement. You carry the scars of battle, but they shine like armor. The things that once wounded you have become your testimony. You no longer speak as one crushed, but as one commissioned. Your endurance has become your authority. Remember this: the most dangerous soldier in the kingdom is not the one who has never fallen, but the one who has fallen and risen again. That is you. You've been hit, but not held down. Wounded, but not wasted. Broken, but not beaten. The war you fought alone will soon become the reason others find strength. Your story will become their map out of despair. Because when they see how you stood, they will know what faith truly means. Heaven saw every invisible battle, every whispered prayer, every tear that fell uncelebrated. And in those secret victories, crowns were forged. You fought alone, but you never truly were alone. The commander of heaven's armies was always beside you. And every scar you carry now speaks of one thing: survival with purpose. The record of the tears. Chosen one. If only you could see what heaven sees when you cry. Not a single tear has fallen unnoticed. Not one sigh has been ignored. Every drop that rolled down your face carried a message, and heaven translated them all. You thought your tears meant weakness, but in the courts of eternity they were worship. There is a hidden language in pain, a sacred dialect understood only by God. When words fail, tears speak. And when tears fall in faith, heaven moves. For every silent weeping, angels were dispatched. For every broken night, pages were written in the book of remembrance with your name engraved upon them. You see, your tears are not wasted water, they are holy ink. They write your story in heaven's archives, recording moments of courage you didn't even recognize as such. You thought you were weeping in despair, but heaven called it intercession. You were birthing new strength through sorrow, and heaven took note of it all. The psalmist once said, "Put my tears into your bottle, are they not in your book?" What a thought that the Almighty keeps a bottle with your tears, like precious perfume stored for eternity. Every tear is a testimony, each one carrying fragrance from the depths of your faith. Heaven collects them not because you are pitiful, but because you are priceless. It is written in the book of Revelation, chapter 21, verse 4. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or mourning or crying or pain, for the old order of things has passed away. That promise is not distant. It is already unfolding. Each time you weep, heaven rehearses the day when pain will finally bow before purpose. The day is coming when every tear you shed in the dark will return to you as laughter in the light. Beloved, your tears have watered the soil of destiny. What you thought was loss has become seed. You were planting hope with every cry, and now heaven prepares the harvest. The ground of your suffering is about to bloom. The barren field is becoming a garden. You will soon see beauty rise from what you buried. There's something holy about people who cry and still believe. Those tears baptize the spirit, cleansing away pride, fear, and doubt until only faith remains. That's what you've been going through, a purification, not punishment. The flood of tears was heaven washing away what could not walk into your next season. The world may see tears as weakness, but heaven knows they are armor. Every tear has built endurance around your soul, softening your heart while strengthening your spirit. The gentle become unbreakable, the humble become unstoppable. And you, chosen one, are proof of it. Your tears tell heaven, I still care. They tell God, I still trust. They are the proof that despite the pain, your heart remains alive and sensitive to His presence. That sensitivity is not a flaw, it's a mark of divine favor. The cold cannot cry, but the called can. Now, imagine this: a single tear falling from your cheek becomes a diamond in heaven's treasury. Each gem reflects a moment when you could have quit but chose to endure. Each sparkle tells a story of survival. When God looks upon those jewels, He sees the cost of your faith and He smiles. Your story matters. Your tears matter. And because of that, the message you carry is sacred. There are other silent souls who cry in darkness just as you once did. Your journey, your healing, your light may be the very candle that guides them home. So if this message stirs something deep within you, if it feels like truth dressed in tenderness, then let it move you. Let it remind you that even your pain has purpose. Let it awaken gratitude, not for what hurt you, but for what shaped you. And when your heart feels led, consider pouring back into this stream that pours into you, like rain feeding the river that once refreshed it. Your support keeps the flow alive. You can like, share, and subscribe not for numbers but for nurture. Every act of sharing extends this comfort to someone else who is still crying unseen. And if you feel a tug to sow a seed, to donate, let it be an offering of gratitude, an echo of the same grace that carried you through your nights of tears. Because generosity is never about giving money. It's about planting meaning. When you give, you are saying, I want someone else to find hope too. Chosen one, your tears are no longer a sign of pain, they are the evidence of transformation. Heaven has recorded them, bottled them, and now prepares to return them to you as joy. The story written in tears will soon be read in triumph. The turning of divine attention, chosen one. There comes a sacred moment when heaven turns its face toward you, not gradually, but suddenly. One moment, it feels as though you're walking through silence. The next, the air itself changes. You can sense it. The atmosphere becomes charged. The unseen begins to move. And you realize something profound: heaven is watching closely now. You've reached the pivot of purpose. This is the point in the story where your hidden faith begins to draw visible favor. The season of anonymity has accomplished its task. Heaven has recorded your faithfulness in private, and now the time of divine acknowledgement begins. The spotlight of heaven is not made of fame, it is made of favor. It shines upon obedience, humility, and endurance, and you, chosen one, have carried all three. It's not that heaven wasn't aware of you before, it's that the appointed moment has arrived for heaven to respond. The waiting has ripened. The preparation is complete. Every prayer, every seed, every act of obedience has aligned in perfect timing. And now, divine attention turns your way like the sunrise, slow at first, then impossible to ignore. When God turns his face toward you, everything shifts. Closed doors begin to tremble. Hidden enemies are exposed. Forgotten dreams wake up like Lazarus from the tomb. You begin to notice divine coincidences that aren't coincidences at all, appointments orchestrated by unseen hands, confirmations in unexpected places, and peace that makes no logical sense. For a long time, you felt unseen, unheard, overlooked. But heaven never forgot you. Every season of silence was preparation for this unveiling. Heaven does not rush what it intends to last. The weight of your assignment required the depth of waiting you endured. It is written in the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verse 25. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. These are not poetic words, they are prophetic truth. The shining of his face represents favor, divine focus. To be under his gaze means to walk beneath open heaven, and that is where you stand now. You may not feel ready, but grace is not about readiness, it's about recognition. God has recognized you. Beloved, divine attention is never random, it is always purposeful. God does not look without intention. When he turns his gaze toward you, it's because something within you is ready to be seen. You've passed tests you didn't even know you were taking. You have proven trustworthy with tears, faithful with silence, and obedient with nothing but hope. The turning of divine attention does not always arrive with fanfare, it often comes quietly, yet powerfully. A sudden peace in your storm, a word that feels like home, a shift in your spirit that says it's time. That's what you're feeling right now. The weight you once carried is lifting because heaven has taken it. But be mindful, chosen one. When heaven turns toward you, hell takes notice. The light of favor draws both blessings and battles. Yet this time, you will not be shaken. The storms that once intimidated you will now introduce you. The opposition that once mocked you will become confirmation that you are indeed chosen. The turning of divine attention is also a turning of seasons. The old cycle breaks here. What was delayed is being delivered. You no longer walk under the shadow of waiting. You walk under the light of becoming. Everything dormant in your life is awakening. You are being remembered by heaven, and remembrance in the kingdom always leads to release. When God remembers, he acts. He remembered Noah and calmed the flood. He remembered Hannah and opened her womb. He remembered Joseph and brought him from the prison to the palace. And now, heaven remembers you, chosen one. Divine attention is not something you earn, it's something you align with. You align through faithfulness, through patience, through surrender. The gaze of God is not distracted, it is deliberate. He sees you. He is turning toward you now, not as a distant observer, but as a father ready to bless his child openly. The fragrance of your perseverance has risen before him, and heaven cannot ignore what you've become. You are the living evidence that faith outlasts fear. You are the testimony that trust always triumphs over time. So pause for a moment. Feel it, the weight of his eyes upon you, the gentleness of his approval, the warmth of his light. This is not the end of waiting, it's the beginning of witnessing. And if your spirit recognizes this shift, if you sense heaven's gaze upon you even now, then mark this moment in the comments. Type the prophetic number 888 as a declaration that divine attention has turned toward your life. The number 8 symbolizes new beginning, and you are standing at the threshold of 1. Heaven's eyes are fixed on you, not to judge, but to crown. The turning of divine attention means this: you are seen, you are chosen, and your next chapter has already begun. You passed the test of stillness. Chosen one, Few understand how hard that test truly is, Manon. It's not the test of doing, it's the test of not doing when everything inside you screams to act, to speak, to defend, but heaven whispers, "Be still." It is the test that separates the impulsive from the anointed, the restless from the refined, and you, beloved, passed it. There were moments when silence felt unbearable. You wanted to explain yourself, to prove your heart, to clear your name. But heaven restrained your hand. You thought it was injustice, it was actually instruction. You were learning the sacred rhythm of restraint, the power that lies in peace, in that stillness. You grew in ways action never could have taught you. You learned to trust that God can fight without your assistance. You learned to believe that His defense is more complete than your explanation. You learned that silence is not surrender, it's strategy. The test of stillness is not about inactivity, it's about faith under pressure. It's about believing that God is moving when you see nothing. It's the furnace where impatience burns away and trust is forged. You felt the heat of waiting, the weight of misunderstanding. Yet you remained unmoved. That stillness became your shield. The storms raged. People talked. Accusations flew, but you stayed quiet. Not because you didn't have words, but because you chose wisdom. You refused to match the chaos. You decided to stay anchored in peace while everything around you demanded a reaction. That decision alone shifted spiritual laws in your favor. Do you know what happens when you stay still in the storm? Heaven moves faster. When you stop striving, heaven starts shifting. While you rested your case, God opened doors. While you held your tongue, He spoke on your behalf in places you've never been. It is written in the book of Exodus, chapter 14, verse 14. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. That was not a suggestion, it was a covenant promise. It is the anthem of those who trust divine timing over human reasoning. You lived that verse. You embodied it. Every time you resisted the urge to retaliate, heaven clapped in quiet approval. There is a deep kind of power in those who can wait. It is the power of maturity, the authority of peace. The enemy cannot imitate it because it comes only from intimacy with God. The still heart terrifies darkness. The silent believer confuses hell because nothing unsettles demons like someone who refuses to be reactive. Chosen one, your stillness was not weakness, it was warfare. When you chose not to fight flesh with flesh, you were actually fighting spirit with spirit. Every time you held your peace, angels were dispatched to hold your ground. Your restraint became a weapon. Your patience became proof of heaven's influence within you. And now, because of that stillness, something beautiful has begun to bloom. The soil of your surrender is birthing stability. The roots of your faith have grown deeper than before. You have become unshakable, not because storms ceased, but because your anchor found its depth in trust. Those who rushed ahead are now weary. Those who waited are now ready. You are ready. You have been trained not in chaos, but in calm. You no longer move from emotion, you move from instruction. That kind of discipline cannot be taught in ease. It's learned in silence. You passed the test that many fail, the temptation to take control. You didn't manipulate outcomes. You didn't chase validation. You didn't force what wasn't ready. You waited, and in doing so, you declared to heaven and earth alike, I trust the author. The truth is, stillness requires more strength than striving. It demands confidence that the unseen hand of God is doing more than you ever could. You didn't lose time waiting. You gained alignment. You didn't lose opportunities. You gained discernment. The stillness that once felt like delay has become your divine advantage. You will soon see why you had to wait. Every not yet from heaven will reveal its reason. Every silence will show its purpose. And when that revelation comes, you will smile, because you'll see that the fight you wanted to start would have cost you more than it was worth. Now you walk differently. Your peace has authority. Your patience speaks louder than your voice ever could. You've learned that stillness doesn't mean God is inactive, it means He is intentional. So rest in that knowledge. The test is over, the lesson remains, and the reward is coming. Because those who learn to be still will always see what others miss, the quiet miracles that only patience can reveal. You passed the test of stillness, and heaven has recorded it as victory. The chains you broke without knowing. Chosen one. Not every victory is loud. Some happen in silence, beneath the surface, where no applause reaches. There are moments in your journey when you didn't even realize that your yes, your quiet obedience, was dismantling entire structures of bondage. You thought you were surviving a hard season, but you were actually ending a generational cycle. The enemy never feared your comfort. He feared your consistency. The moment you chose to forgive, you broke something ancient. The moment you refused to repeat the patterns that trapped your bloodline, a chain snapped in the spirit. You did not just escape darkness, you changed the trajectory of everything connected to your name. You see, every family, every lineage carries cycles of pain, pride, silence, fear, or lack. These patterns hide beneath behavior, repeating themselves across generations until one brave soul decides to do differently. That was you. Heaven watched as you stood between what was and what could be. You didn't just fight for yourself, you fought for everyone who would come after you. You didn't have to see the chains to break them. Every prayer whispered through exhaustion was a hammer against captivity. Every tear shed in surrender was a strike that loosened something ancient. What looked like an ordinary struggle was actually a spiritual revolution. It is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 10, verse 27. The yoke will be destroyed because of the anointing. That verse is the summary of your journey. You have carried the anointing that breaks yokes, not just visible ones, but invisible ones that held generations hostage. You didn't inherit perfection, but you were entrusted with power. The spirit that rests upon you is not for comfort, it's for conquest. Think about the moments you felt inexplicable heaviness. Sorrow that seemed older than your years. Battles that made no logical sense. Those were inherited weights, burdens passed down through history. But heaven chose you as the breaker. You didn't understand why your life seemed harder, why your path seemed narrower. It's because you were sent to end what others accepted. Your no to compromise became a yes to freedom. Your surrender became warfare. Your persistence became prophecy. Without even realizing it, you have shifted the spiritual DNA of your lineage. Where others bowed, you stood. Where others were silent, you prayed. Where others hid, you spoke truth. Heaven marks such moments not with applause, but with crowns. Chosen one, breaking chains doesn't always look heroic. Sometimes it looks like choosing peace when chaos feels familiar. Sometimes it looks like resting instead of running. Sometimes it's walking away from what feels comfortable but isn't holy. That's what you've been doing. Learning how to choose light, even when darkness offers comfort. Heaven watched as you carried the weight of this transformation. It wasn't easy. Every time you broke one link, resistance grew stronger. But each battle taught you authority. Each scar became a sign of your anointing. Now you carry discernment that cannot be taught, only earned. The chains you broke may never be visible to others, but the freedom they bring will be undeniable. You'll notice it in the way peace lingers where chaos once lived. In how joy visits your mornings without permission. in how blessings come without sorrow attached. That's the evidence of deliverance, not noise, but peace. Sometimes the greatest miracles look like normal days finally free from spiritual pressure. That is your miracle. You have peace where there used to be warfare. You wake up without the old fear. You walk without the old shame. You pray without the old hesitation. Heaven calls that progress, and progress is victory. Now the story of your life is no longer about survival, it's about inheritance. You are establishing a new standard for those who come after you. Because of your faith, they will walk lighter. Because of your endurance, they will see further. You have broken the ceiling that limited generations before you. Chosen one, never underestimate what your obedience accomplished. The heavens shook, the curses shattered, and the cycle ended. It didn't happen in one moment, it happened in every moment you chose faith over fear. You may have thought you were just changing your life, but you've been rewriting history. Heaven has inscribed your victory in its eternal record. The breaker has risen, and now the fragrance of freedom rests upon you. The air around your spirit feels lighter because heaven has declared you free. No more bondage, no more repetition, no more returning to what once hurt you. You have broken the chains, and even if you never see the full ripple, heaven will. For generations to come, blessings will trace your name and say, "It began with the one who chose differently." The moment darkness lost its claim. Chosen one. There was a night when everything inside you screamed to surrender, when despair tried to claim you as its own, when guilt whispered that you'd gone too far, and shame built walls around your heart. That was the night darkness thought it had you. But then, heaven saw you make a decision that changed everything you forgave. You didn't realize it then, but that single act of forgiveness shook the underworld. When you released the pain that had every right to stay, when you chose to let go instead of holding on, light invaded territory that had been dark for too long. You broke a legal hold hell had against your name. Forgiveness wasn't weakness, it was warfare. You see, the enemy's greatest strategy isn't always destruction, it's accusation. He thrives in bitterness, breathes in offense, and feeds on resentment. But when you forgave, you took the weapon out of his hand. You silenced every accusation he ever tried to use against you. The darkness lost its argument the moment you let go. It was not easy. Your forgiveness wasn't a soft surrender, it was a holy rebellion. You refused to let pain dictate your destiny. You refused to allow bitterness to chain your spirit. You forgave not because they deserved it, but because you desired freedom. Heaven stood and applauded, for forgiveness is the language of the redeemed. It is written in the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 6, verse 14. "For if you forgive others their sins, your heavenly Father will also forgive you." That verse is not just instruction, it's liberation. In forgiving, you unlocked a divine exchange. As you released others, heaven released you. The weight that once sat heavy on your chest began to lift. The darkness that once lingered in corners of your heart began to fade. You became untouchable, not because you fought harder, but because you let go. Forgiveness is not the absence of memory, it's the absence of poison. You still remember what happened, but it no longer controls how you breathe. You can look at what hurt you and no longer bleed. That is power. That is redemption. Chosen one, you have stepped into rare territory. Few make it here because forgiveness costs more than revenge ever will. But what you gained was worth the price. You regained peace. You regained sleep. You regained yourself. Darkness tried to claim your narrative, but heaven rewrote your ending. You are no longer defined by betrayal, you are defined by breakthrough. The enemy expected your heart to harden, but instead it became softer, stronger, and wiser. You turned bitterness into beauty, wounds into wisdom, scars into strength. You may not see it fully yet, but everything changed when you forgave. The spiritual atmosphere around you shifted. The bitterness that once blocked blessings has been removed. Where there was heaviness, there is now clarity. Where there was delay, there is acceleration. Heaven is now free to release what was held back, not because God withheld it, but because unforgiveness could not hold it. Forgiveness opened the floodgates. It invited favor, peace, and restoration. Even now, heaven is aligning opportunities you once thought were lost. You will see relationships healed, doors reopened, paths made straight, because mercy always makes a way where pride built a wall. And maybe, just maybe, that forgiveness wasn't only for others, it was for you. You needed to forgive yourself too, to stop rehearsing the mistakes you made, to stop holding yourself hostage to past decisions. Grace has already covered what guilt tries to uncover. The blood of Christ has spoken louder than your regrets. The darkness no longer has jurisdiction over your name. Heaven has issued a decree: redeemed, restored, released. You are free from the narrative of failure. You are walking out of the courtroom of condemnation into the throne room of grace. Take a moment. Chosen one. Feel it, the light returning, the air lighter, the heart unclenched. This is what spiritual victory feels like. You didn't have to fight harder. You just had to forgive deeper. And if this truth settles in your spirit, if you can feel peace returning to places that once ached, then write it in the comments: I am free. Type it not for attention, but as an act of alignment. When you declare those words, you're not speaking to people. You're reminding heaven and hell alike of who you now are. You're saying, the chains are off, the accusations are silenced, the past is powerless. Heaven hears that declaration as praise. Darkness hears it as defeat. Because the moment you say, I am free, every spirit that once claimed you must retreat. The light in you has spoken, and it has won. Heaven's announcement over you. Chosen one. When heaven speaks, creation listens. When God releases a decree, everything that exists must realign to His word. And tonight, heaven has announced something over you, something final, something irrevocable. The waiting season has ended. The verdict has been spoken. You are chosen. You are covered. You are ready. There are moments when heaven's voice doesn't come as thunder, but as tenderness, like rain landing softly on dry ground. That's what this moment is. A divine whisper saying, it's time. You've been faithful in the shadows, steady in the silence, and now the sound of divine approval fills the air. The throne has released your name, and the ripple of that decree is already touching the earth. You may not hear trumpets, but your spirit does. Something within you feels lighter, alive, alert. The atmosphere around you has shifted. It's like the morning breaking after a long night, when the first ray of sunlight touches the horizon and everything begins to glow again. That light is favor, and it has found you. The angels know the sound of heaven's announcement. They move at its command. Doors open because the decree demands it. Opportunities appear because heaven has authorized them. You don't have to chase what's yours anymore. What's yours is already chasing you. It is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 55, verse 11. So shall my word be that goes out from my mouth. It shall not return to me empty, but accomplish my purpose. That is what's happening right now. God's word over your life is succeeding. The promises that once felt delayed are now maturing like fruit in its season. What looked forgotten is unfolding in perfect time. The announcement has gone forth, and it cannot return void. This is the beauty of divine order. When God says now, everything that was once stuck begins to move. Mountains shift, hearts soften, paths clear. The delays were never denial, they were alignment. Heaven was waiting for the perfect convergence of time, readiness, and grace. That convergence is here. You don't have to force what God has already favored. Just stay in position. The announcement over you is not just about blessing, it's about purpose. Heaven is not promoting you for comfort, it's commissioning you for influence. The same way rain doesn't fall just to soak the soil, but to awaken what's hidden beneath. Your elevation isn't for show, it's for sowing into others. And as this word settles into your heart, I want to speak to the part of you that still doubts. I know it's hard to believe something so beautiful could finally be real. You've faced so many false starts, so many closed doors. But the voice you hear now is not your imagination, it's invitation. Heaven's announcement is not wishful thinking, it's divine confirmation. The shift you feel is not emotional, it's spiritual. God has said your name in the throne room, and the sound of it traveled like thunder through time. The reason you've been feeling restless lately is because heaven has already moved your name to the next chapter. The doors are already unlocked, you just haven't walked through them yet. Now listen closely, this is not a transaction, it's an exchange. Heaven gives and we respond. If this message touches you deeply, if it resonates as truth you've waited years to hear, then let your heart respond in gratitude. You can like this message, share it, or subscribe not as an act of routine but as an act of agreement. Every share becomes a ripple that might reach another soul still stuck in silence. Every click becomes a seed of light, extending heaven's voice into hearts that need it most. And if you ever feel led to give, to donate, to support, do it not out of pressure but out of purpose. Think of it like adding oil to the lamp that lights the night for others. Your generosity becomes fire that keeps the message alive, carrying warmth to those who still stand in the cold. Heaven multiplies what is given with pure motive, turning simple gestures into lasting grace. The announcement over you is this: heaven has chosen to reveal what was once hidden, to elevate what was once ignored, to restore what was once broken. You will not chase favor. Favor will find you. You will not beg for opportunity. Opportunity will bow before divine decree. Heaven has spoken your name, and the echo of that voice will carry through every future door you enter. This is not the end of waiting, it's the beginning of becoming. You walk in the aftershock, chosen one. Every divine shift leaves ripples, and you are standing in the wake of one. Heaven has spoken over you, and though you cannot see the full picture yet, the vibration of that decree still moves through your life. What happened in the spirit is now echoing into the natural. The air around you carries new weight, favor, authority, recognition. You can sense it without explanation. This aftershock is not chaos, it's alignment. When God moves, everything else adjusts. Old relationships fade quietly. New ones approach unexpectedly. Habits that once felt normal now feel heavy. Conversations that once entertained you suddenly exhaust you. It's because your atmosphere has changed, and your spirit refuses to live where it no longer belongs. After every earthquake in the spirit, stillness follows, a sacred calm that confuses the enemy. You feel both peace and power, both gratitude and gravity. You are not who you were before heaven spoke. Something deep inside has awakened. You carry the fragrance of divine confirmation, and darkness can smell it from afar. The aftershock of blessing always reveals what cannot remain. People who were drawn to your pain may not recognize your peace. Some will leave, others will distance themselves, not because you've changed for the worse, but because you've evolved beyond what they can understand. Do not mourn that departure. It's a purification, not a punishment. Heaven is pruning your surroundings for growth. Every great transformation demands a shedding. You cannot walk in new authority with old alliances. You cannot carry fresh oil in cracked vessels. The shift requires new containers, new systems, new spaces, and even if it feels lonely, it is holy. Isolation often follows impartation. Heaven trusts you enough to keep you hidden while the foundation of your new life sets firm. It is written in the book of the 2 Corinthians, chapter 5, verse 17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has gone, the new has come. That verse describes what is happening to you now. The old version of you, the one that doubted, feared, overthought, no longer exists in the same form. You still inhabit the same body, but your spiritual composition has changed. You have crossed over from surviving to stewarding, from hoping to holding. The new has truly come. In the aftershock, small things become sacred. You notice how mornings feel brighter, how peace lingers longer, how your prayers flow more freely. The distance between your words and heaven's response seems shorter because your heart is now aligned. You've become sensitive to subtle instruction. You can feel when grace nudges you forward and when wisdom holds you back. That is spiritual maturity, the reward of endurance. This is also the time when the enemy tries one last time to test your footing, not through major storms, but through whispers, old temptations disguised as comfort, old fears disguised as logic. Don't be alarmed. Earthquakes have aftershocks, and so do breakthroughs. But you will not fall back. You've learned too much in the dark to stumble in the light. There's something new about the way you carry yourself now. You walk softer but stand firmer. You speak less, but your words weigh more. People will feel peace simply by being near you because your spirit emits stability. You've become a sanctuary in motion, a temple carrying the presence of what heaven deposited in you. The aftershock is not meant to confuse you, it's meant to calibrate you. Everything that trembles around you now is adjusting to your new frequency. Some things will break away, others will draw near. Don't resist the rearrangement. It's heaven completing the work it started. There's also a quiet confidence rising within you. You no longer need constant confirmation because your spirit remembers the sound of his voice. You don't chase signs anymore, you've become one. The evidence of divine encounter lives in how you respond to life, how you hold peace when others panic. That's what it means to walk in the aftershock. And soon, you'll notice the results in motion. What was once delayed will begin to flow with ease. What used to require striving will come naturally. Favor will meet you in mundane places, and you'll realize that this is what rest feels like, the reward for trusting when nothing made sense. Heaven's movement has already begun to bear fruit in your days. You don't need to announce it. Those who once doubted will simply watch your consistency and know. The aftershock isn't just happening around you, it's happening through you. You are the living continuation of heaven's decree, walking proof that obedience causes the earth to shift. The angels now assigned to you. Chosen one, heaven never leaves a faithful soul unguarded. There are seasons when you pray for protection, and then there are seasons when protection prays around you. You have stepped into the latter because of your endurance, obedience, and surrender. Heaven has released new angelic reinforcements, beings of light who now walk beside you, unseen but undeniable. The realm of the Spirit is alive tonight. The air hums differently when heaven deploys its armies. You may not see them, but you feel the difference. The atmosphere seems charged with peace. Your steps carry new stability, and fear seems weaker than before. That's because the unseen has shifted in your favor. You've passed through fire, survived storms, endured silence, and now heaven has deemed you trustworthy with greater They are heaven's messengers, protectors, and executors of divine order. You have reached a level in purpose where new assignments require new protection. It is written in the book of Psalms, chapter 91, verse 11. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. That promise is not poetic, it's practical. When you walk into unknown territory, they go before you. When danger plots in darkness, they intercept it before it reaches you. When weariness tries to pull you under, they strengthen your frame. Every chosen one carries a personal garrison, and yours has just been expanded. Think of it like this: when a king increases a soldier's rank, he multiplies his defense. The higher the calling, the greater the coverage. You're not more at risk, you're more protected. The battles you face are different now, not because you're vulnerable, but because you're valuable. Heaven invests resources where heaven expects results. Sometimes their presence will show subtly an unexplainable peace in chaos. A delayed step that avoids disaster. A dream that warns or comforts you. Sometimes they'll appear through people, strangers who speak exactly what your spirit needed. Friends who arrive at the perfect moment. Helpers who materialize without reason. All of these are extensions of your angelic assignment. Angels move at the sound of obedience. They are drawn not to emotion, but to faith. When you worship, they stand at attention. When you declare truth, they enforce it. Your words, spoken in faith, become commands they carry out. You don't need to see them to know they're real. You only need to stay aligned so they can operate freely. There's a reason you've been feeling a new calm lately. The turbulence that once surrounded your nights has softened. The dread that used to linger before big decisions has faded. That's not coincidence, that's coverage. The realm around you has been reinforced. Chosen one, this isn't about superstition or spectacle, it's about structure. Heaven runs with divine precision, and you are now part of its operational plan. You've matured from being protected out of mercy to being protected by mandate. You're not merely being kept safe, you're being kept strategic. There are assignments attached to your life now, people who will find healing through your words, others who will find courage through your story. These angels ensure that the delivery of your purpose remains unhindered. You will notice the subtle guidance more clearly, a nudge to wait, a sudden prompting to move, a sense that danger is near even before evidence appears. That's them, heaven's quiet navigators. And when you face resistance, and you will, they will surround you. You'll feel the reassurance that you are not standing alone. Heaven has posted sentinels at your side. Where before you were outnumbered, now you are outguarded. Sometimes they protect you by redirecting your path. What feels like delay or denial may actually be divine diversion, an angel moving you away from something that looked safe but wasn't holy. Trust those interruptions. They are love in motion. You are entering a season of divine companionship, where heaven's partnership becomes tangible. Don't try to understand everything, just stay sensitive. Live aware but not afraid. The King of Heaven has invested heavily in your journey, and his command over your life is guarded by wings. Now, if this truth resonates deep in your spirit, if you can feel the subtle weight of peace around you, the sense that unseen hands have been guiding your way, mark this moment. Type in the comments the prophetic number 444 as a sign of agreement with what heaven has already released. The number 4 echoes stability, foundation, and angelic order. You are standing on solid ground, surrounded by divine guardianship. From this point forward, walk with confidence, not arrogance, but assurance. When you enter a room, heaven enters with you. When you sleep, sentries stand watch. When you speak, your words travel with authority because they are accompanied by celestial witnesses. The angels now assigned to you are not temporary visitors, they are covenant keepers. Their mission is clear: to ensure you finish what heaven started. And finish, you will. You carry a heavenly signature. Chosen one. Not every calling leaves visible marks, but those with eyes in the Spirit can recognize when heaven has signed its name upon a soul. You carry such a mark. It cannot be erased, imitated, or hidden. It radiates through your presence, through your voice, through the quiet authority that follows you wherever you go. This signature is not made of ink, it's woven into your essence. It's the evidence of divine ownership, the invisible seal that distinguishes you as one who has been through the fire and come out refined. People may not understand why they feel peace in your presence, why conversations shift when you speak, why even silence becomes sacred when you enter a room. It's not you they're responding to, it's the mark you carry. So, it is written in the book of Ephesians, chapter 1, verse 13. When you believed, you were marked in him with a seal, the promised Holy Spirit. That seal is not a symbol, it's a substance. The Spirit himself has branded you with heaven's signature, and that signature carries weight in both realms. Darkness recognizes it and retreats. Angels recognize it and respond. Creation itself acknowledges the mark and cooperates with it. For years, you questioned your difference. You wondered why your spirit couldn't settle in ordinary spaces, why compromise made you restless, why certain atmospheres drained you. It's because marked ones can't blend in. The signature sets you apart, it rewrites your spiritual DNA. You are no longer just a name on earth. You are a sound in heaven. Heaven's mark carries both privilege and pressure. Privilege, because you walk under divine favor, doors open. Timing aligns. Provision flows where purpose leads. Pressure, because that same mark attracts resistance. Hell sees it glowing and panics. Demons recognize it before humans do, which is why opposition often arrives before opportunity. The signature draws both favor and fire, but fire cannot burn what bears God's seal, it can only refine it further. This mark also carries identity. You are not defined by past failures or human labels. You are defined by heaven's handwriting over your life. Every lie spoken against you dissolves in the presence of this truth. The King himself has signed your story. You are not anonymous in the Spirit. When heaven looks down, your name shines like light carved into eternity. Because of this mark, your words carry weight beyond their sound. When you pray, things move. When you speak, atmospheres respond. You've noticed that your emotions seem amplified, joy deeper, sorrow heavier, conviction sharper. That's because you feel with heaven's heart now. The signature doesn't just mark you, it merges you with divine sensitivity. The mark also changes your perception of time. What once felt delayed now feels deliberate. You've begun to understand that heaven's pace is not slow, it's precise. You no longer chase moments, you wait for movements. The signature teaches patience, because you've realized that everything written in heaven eventually manifests on earth, never early, never late, always perfect. Sometimes, the mark feels like isolation. You'll walk into rooms and sense that you don't belong, not because you're unwanted, but because you're uncommon. Your spirit recognizes misalignment faster now. The old version of you tolerated environments the new version cannot survive in. You don't need to explain it, your signature speaks for you. And yet, this mark isn't meant to elevate your ego. It's meant to enlarge your empathy. You carry heaven's tenderness in your voice. You see people differently now, not by what they show, but by what they hide. You've been through enough darkness to recognize pain in others. That sensitivity is your ministry. It's the reason heaven signed you in the first place, so you could become a bridge between brokenness and grace. There will be times when you doubt your value again, when the weight of calling feels heavier than the joy of it. In those moments, remember, seals are never given to the unready. You received this mark because you survived what would have erased others. You proved trustworthy with pain, so heaven trusted you with presence. This signature is also your protection. It identifies you to the unseen as one who belongs to the King. That's why certain doors close before you even knock. Heaven is guarding you from misalignment. That's why some plans crumble before they start. It's not sabotage, it's signature security. You are too valuable to be misplaced. The day will come when people will ask, "What changed about you?" and you'll smile because you'll know it wasn't you who changed. It was heaven revealing more of its handwriting through your life. The glow, the calm, the wisdom, the discernment. It's all part of that celestial ink drying upon your destiny. So, walk as one sealed, speak as one sent, love as one marked by mercy. The world may not recognize the autograph of heaven, but creation does, and creation bows when it sees the signature of its author shining through you. The mantle placed on your shoulders. Chosen one. There comes a time when endurance matures into authority, when tests become trust, and heaven places upon a soul the garment of responsibility called a mantle. Tonight, that mantle rests on you. You may not feel ready, you rarely do, but the anointing seldom asks for permission. It recognizes alignment and descends. A mantle is more than an honor. It's a holy weight. It represents inheritance, assignment, and continuity. The same way Elijah's cloak fell upon Elisha, heaven's covering has now fallen upon you. It's invisible to the natural eye, but undeniable in the spirit. The mantle is the proof that heaven considers you not merely healed, but prepared. It is written in the second book of Kings, chapter 2, verse 15. The spirit of Elijah rests on Elisha. That verse speaks of transfer, of divine succession, of spiritual power moving from one vessel to another. And just as Elisha picked up that mantle and walked forward with double portion strength, so now you stand clothed in what your journey has qualified you to carry. The mantle does not arrive in comfort. It arrives after crushing. You've been pressed, purified, and proven that you might not even realize the moment it was placed. It happens quietly. Sometimes it arrives in prayer when a burden replaces fear. Sometimes it comes in grief when clarity replaces confusion. Sometimes it manifests through words that come out of your mouth that you didn't plan to speak, yet they pierce hearts like arrows of light. That's the mantle working through you. Heaven never gives a mantle to the untested. Every challenge, every heartbreak, every season of hiddenness was training for this. The mantle requires endurance, humility, and sensitivity to the voice of the Spirit. It is both crown and cross, glory and gravity joined together. You may feel the change without understanding it. Ordinary tasks begin to carry unusual grace. Conversations that once drained you now overflow with discernment. You sense burdens that aren't yours, yet you feel compelled to pray for them. That's intercession born from responsibility. Heaven has entrusted you with its heartbeat. This is the point where obedience becomes influence. The words you speak now shape atmospheres. Your prayers alter paths. Even your presence brings alignment. You might notice people confiding in you unexpectedly, drawn by something they can't explain. That's not coincidence, it's recognition. They are responding to the mantle. But remember, the mantle is not for display, it's for service. It's not a trophy, but a tool. The garment of calling is not stitched with prestige, it's woven with sacrifice. Every true mantle carries the scent of servanthood. You've been elevated, yes, but elevation in the kingdom always bends downward, toward humility, toward compassion, toward others. Carrying a mantle means becoming a vessel for divine expression. It means you speak when heaven needs a voice, move when heaven needs hands, and stand when heaven needs representation. You no longer live for personal ambition. You live as extension of a greater plan. That is the sacred exchange of calling. The weight may feel heavy at first, but it's not meant to crush, it's meant to anchor. It keeps you grounded in purpose when distractions try to lure you away. The mantle reminds you that your life is not random, it's orchestrated. Every place you walk becomes an altar, every act of kindness a sermon, every quiet obedience a legacy. There will be days when you long for simplicity again, when you wish you could return to being unseen. But chosen vessels don't get to hide after the oil has flowed. Once heaven clothes you, the world around you begins to change, even if you don't announce it. The authority you carry is not loud, yet it is unmistakable. Demons recognize it before people do. Heaven has granted you spiritual jurisdiction over specific areas, family lines, workplaces, communities, or creative fields. Wherever you step, light gains territory. That's the evidence of a mantle transformation follows presence. And though you carry heaven's authority, never forget that it flows through weakness, not pride. The greatest strength of the mantle lies in surrender. Stay low, and the oil will keep flowing. Try to own it, and the oil will dry. So, walk softly but surely. You are clothed in something eternal. Let your words be seasoned with mercy, your actions soaked in love, your posture humble yet unshakable. For the garment you wear is more than a covering, it is heaven's covenant resting visibly upon your life. One day, others will look back and say, something changed when they entered the room. And you'll know it wasn't charisma or effort, it was the mantle moving through you, quietly, powerfully, purposefully. Heaven has placed it on your shoulders. Wear it with reverence, carry it with grace, and remember it's not yours to boast in, it's yours to bear. The public unveiling, chosen one. What heaven witnessed in secret is now beginning to bloom before the eyes of men. For years, your process was private, your pain unseen, your growth uncelebrated, your prayers echoing in silence. But God was not hiding you to hurt you. He was cultivating you to reveal you. Every seed that was buried is now breaking the surface. The unveiling has begun. At first, it may feel strange. You will notice doors opening that used to remain shut. You will find your name mentioned in rooms you've never entered. Favor will begin to follow you like sunlight that can no longer be hidden behind clouds. It isn't pride to acknowledge this, it's purpose coming into public view. What heaven has confirmed in silence, the earth is now commanded to witness. The unveiling of a chosen one is a delicate act. Heaven doesn't throw you into the spotlight, it positions you there, like a candle placed on a lampstand. The light doesn't change, the placement does. And now, that placement is shifting for you. Your gifts will speak louder, your influence will stretch further, and your spirit will radiate peace in places where chaos once ruled. But understand, this public unveiling is not about recognition, it's about reflection. Heaven reveals you only so that others might see him through you. You are not the painting, you are the frame that carries the masterpiece. When people look at your life and feel hope rise within them, that's not admiration, that's revelation. It is written in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 5, verse 14. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Public unveiling also comes with spiritual contrast. The same way dawn reveals beauty, it also exposes shadows. Some who once supported you may grow distant, not out of malice, but out of misunderstanding. The same ones who celebrated your resilience may now wrestle with your rise. Don't take it personally. Every unveiling tests loyalty. True hearts remain, temporary ones fade. And as this light grows, so does your responsibility. The unveiled must remain grounded. Remember, flowers don't grow taller by looking at the sun, they grow stronger by deepening their roots. Stay rooted in humility, gratitude, and quiet service. You are being lifted not for luxury, but for legacy. There will also be moments when this new visibility feels uncomfortable. Suddenly, eyes are on you, some curious, some critical. That is part of carrying influence. You cannot control perception, only posture. Keep your spirit steady. Don't let applause inflate you or criticism deflate you. The same God who raised you will keep you steady if you remain centered in Him. And now, beloved, let me speak from the heart. If this message reaches you deeply, if something inside says, "This is my moment of unveiling," then hold that feeling like sacred fire. Because this isn't just about one person's rise, it's about heaven revealing its art through human vessels. And if that truth resonates, let your gratitude move you to action. You can like, share, or subscribe not to feed an algorithm, but to further a message. Every time you share this word, it travels like light through the internet's wilderness, reaching another soul sitting in the dark, waiting for a sign. You become the bridge heaven uses to deliver comfort. If your heart ever feels stirred to donate, think of it not as payment but as participation. Giving keeps the light burning. It's like adding oil to a lamp so that its glow never dims. Each gift, no matter how small, becomes another flame in the constellation of faith we're building together. You are not giving to a person, you're giving into purpose. And as you continue to walk through this unveiling, take a moment to reflect in the comments below. Write a few words, perhaps your gratitude, your realization, or even a single sentence that captures your awakening. These comments are not just digital text, they are echoes of faith, reminders to others that they are not alone in this journey of transformation. Heaven's unveiling will not overwhelm you, it will honor you. You have been prepared for this moment. You are stepping into visibility with purity, into influence with humility, and into recognition with reverence. The world will see your light, but heaven will see your obedience, and that is what matters most. So shine quietly. Chosen one, walk in grace. Let your rise be gentle, your spirit steadfast, your purpose unshaken. For this is not fame, it's fulfillment. This is not your arrival, it's your revealing. Crowned by fire, guarded by light, chosen one. Every crown in heaven's kingdom is forged, not gifted. The gold of your destiny has been melted, shaped, and refined through every trial you have endured. The crown you wear now was not made in comfort. It was birthed in the furnace of pain, polished by perseverance, and sealed with light. Fire has always been the mark of transformation. It does not arrive to destroy, it arrives to define. You once prayed for strength, and heaven answered with storms. You asked for growth, and God sent seasons that stripped away what could not stay. You desired wisdom, and He gave you silence until your own voice quieted enough to hear His. That was not cruelty, it was crowning in disguise. It is written in the book of Zechariah, chapter 13, verse 9, "I will refine them like silver and test them like gold. They will call my name, and I will answer." That verse is your story written long before your time. You have walked through divine refinement not to prove your worth, but to reveal it. Every flame that touched you had permission only to purify, never to destroy. Heaven supervised every degree of your trial, ensuring that what emerged was radiant, resilient, and real. You have learned what few ever discover, that pain can polish purpose. Each trial sanded down pride. Each heartbreak reshaped your compassion. Each delay taught you the rhythm of trust. The furnace didn't just change your surroundings, it changed your structure. You became unbreakable not because life was gentle, but because grace was present in the fire. The crown you now carry is not made of metal, but of memory. It remembers every night you didn't give up, every morning you rose again, every whisper that said, "Still I believe." It is the weight of endurance turned into beauty. And heaven looks upon that crown and calls it glory. But crowns in the kingdom are not for display, they're for duty. Being crowned means being called. It means walking with quiet strength, lifting others who are still kneeling in ashes, and reminding them that fire can form faith. Your crown glows brightest when you use it to serve. You are guarded by light now. That it's not a shield you wear, it's an atmosphere that travels with you. This divine light does not merely protect, it projects. It extends peace into chaos, clarity into confusion, order into disorder. When you enter a space, the energy shifts because heaven's light recognizes its reflection in you. This guarding light is living proof that God finishes what He starts. It's not a spotlight, it's a safeguard. It keeps your spirit tender but your boundaries strong. It keeps you visible to divine favor yet invisible to demonic schemes. It moves like mist, soft to you, impenetrable to the enemy. You've felt it, haven't you? That quiet peace that follows you even in uncertainty. That sudden calm when fear tries to rise again. It's not your imagination, it's your assignment being protected. You've become heaven's investment, and heaven defends what it deposits. Crowned by fire, guarded by light, two sides of the same divine process. The crown was the result, the light is the reward. The fire tested your identity, the light now reveals it. You are the testimony that God can take what was meant to burn you and turn it into brilliance. When you walk now, do it with reverence. The world won't see the crown, but they'll feel the authority. They won't see the light, but they'll sense the safety. You are no longer a survivor, you are a steward of sacred proof that endurance births glory. And when the next storm comes, and it will, don't fear the flame. You've already been refined by greater fires. This time, the heat will only highlight the gold within you. The same light that guards you will guide you through. Heaven has crowned you with endurance and surrounded you with illumination. You are both the proof of perseverance and the prophecy of hope fulfilled. Crowned by fire, guarded by light, you now carry the brilliance of one who has overcome. Heaven rejoices, earth awaits. Chosen one. This is the culmination of every hidden battle, every unseen prayer, every whisper of faith that refused to die. Heaven stands in celebration not because your path was flawless, but because your endurance fulfilled prophecy. The story that began with pain has now become praise. What once was survival has turned into song. If you could see into the spirit right now, you would hear the symphony. Trumpets of glory sounding your name, angels rejoicing in radiant harmony, the cloud of witnesses leaning forward to watch what happens next. For your completion marks the beginning of a new rhythm on earth. Heaven's victory expressed through human hands. Heaven rejoices because one more soul has returned to alignment. But earth awaits because one more light has been fully awakened. You are not being lifted to leave this world, you are being established to change it. The crown you wear and the light that guards you are not for retreat, they are for release. The kingdom does not hide its victors, it sends them. It is written in the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 16. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit that will last. Those words are your mandate. You have been chosen, appointed, and now sent. The fruit of your life, your words, your kindness, your resilience will not fade with seasons. It will outlast pain, outlive opposition, and outshine every shadow that ever tried to silence you. The rejoicing of heaven is not only for what you overcame, but for what you will now overflow. You have become a vessel of divine continuity, a living reminder that grace still wins, mercy still calls, and faith still conquers. Earth is waiting for the sound of your footsteps, for the echo of your obedience, for the fragrance of your presence that carries the scent of the throne. There is a holy gravity upon you now, a weight that pulls heaven downward through your words and actions. Every conversation you enter, every place you set foot, becomes an altar, not because of what you do, but because of who you carry. The presence within you is now more tangible than ever. You no longer visit sacred places, you are one. Heaven rejoices because you represent proof. Proof that the human heart can withstand fire and still choose love. Proof that light, when buried deep enough, can still find its way out. Proof that surrender is stronger than struggle. You are a living argument against despair. Every breath you take defies the logic of hopelessness. But earth still waits for you to speak, to build, to bless. The ones still wandering in confusion need the testimony you carry. The ones buried under shame need the sound of your redemption. You are not here to perform miracles, you are one. The miracle of endurance, the miracle of restoration, the miracle of awakening. The heavens know your name, but the earth must now know your impact. What heaven confirmed privately, time will now reveal publicly. Not through fame, but through fruit. Not through noise, but through nurture. You will find yourself drawn into divine appointments, conversations that feel orchestrated, encounters that unlock healing, moments that shift atmospheres. Those are heaven's assignments unfolding through you. You will notice that even nature responds differently to your presence. The wind feels gentler, the sunrise feels closer. That's because you are finally in rhythm with creation itself. The earth recognizes when a child of heaven walks in full alignment, it sighs in relief as though saying, "Finally, one who remembers who they are." The divine cycle is complete. Heaven called, you answered. Darkness attacked, you endured. Fire refined, light surrounded. Heaven crowned, earth now awaits. The pattern of purpose has reached fulfillment, and all of creation leans toward what comes next. You no longer strive for significance, you radiate it. You no longer chase purpose, you are it. You have become the message, the melody, the miracle. The weight of waiting has lifted. The silence of heaven has turned into song. You have passed from being prepared to being presented. And though your journey continues, it will never again feel the same. The wilderness has ended. The promised land is not a place, it's a posture. You walk now as one who belongs, one who is both grounded in grace and carried by glory. Heaven rejoices, earth awaits, and time itself bends to the sound of your obedience. The world may not yet understand the magnitude of what just occurred, but soon it will. Because when a chosen one rises, the atmosphere changes. When faith matures into fulfillment, history records it. And now, the voice of heaven whispers one final affirmation over your spirit: well done. Beloved, you remained faithful in the shadows, and now the dawn belongs to you. So walk, chosen one, not as one waiting for the light, but as one carrying it. Heaven rejoices because your faith fulfilled its song. Earth awaits because your steps will now sing it forward. Chosen one, you have reached the end of this journey, but truly, It is only the beginning. Heaven has rejoiced, and earth has taken notice. You've walked through revelation, restoration, and resurrection. Every word you've absorbed has been a seed, and now heaven watches for what will bloom from your spirit. If these messages have touched something deep inside you, if they have reignited your strength or reminded you of who you truly are, then let gratitude become your response. Take a moment, like share and subscribe, not for numbers, but for light. Every act of sharing sends this word farther, reaching another heart that's still standing in the storm, waiting for the same reminder you just received. And when you comment below, write what stirred in you most: your revelation, your turning point, your yes. These aren't just comments, they're public declarations of faith, proof that light still moves through words. Your journey as God's chosen one continues. The story doesn't end here, it unfolds in how you live, how you love, how you let heaven speak through your life, carry the message forward. You are seen, you are sealed, and you are never walking alone.